The forgotten legend. No one spoke of humans anymore, not seriously. Across the vast expanse of the Concordia galaxy, the very mention of them was met with dismissive chuckles or patronizing smiles. They were creatures of myth, apparitions conjured from collective imagination, cautionary tales told to younglings who asked too many questions about the forbidden sectors. Varric Noros knew better. The Leoyan archaeologist stood at the observation deck of his research vessel, the Antiquity, staring into the swirling cosmic dust of the Veil Nebula. His scaled fingers traced patterns across the glass, following the outline of what once was Earth's solar system, if his calculations were correct. "Professor Noros, you've been standing there for 6 hours." The voice belonged to his assistant, Tella Moore, a young Quarian whose silver-streaked fur bristled with concern. "The crew is worried." "Let them worry," Varric muttered, his 4 eyes never leaving the nebula. "History is written by the victors, Tella, and someone very powerful wanted humanity wiped from the records." Tella sighed, her multi-jointed arms crossing in frustration. "The Conference of Galactic Historians rejected your paper. Again, they're calling you the human hunter now. It's becoming a joke." Varric finally turned, his elongated head tilting to one side. "Do you know what the Zoth Empire does to jokes, Tella? They don't laugh, they erase. And that's exactly what happened to humanity. Humans are bedtime stories. Monsters used to frighten children into obedience," Tella protested. "Be good or the humans will come. Don't lie or you'll end up like the humans." Varric's upper eyes narrowed, while his lower ones continued scanning the data pad in his hand. 15,000 years of meticulous historical records across 18,000 species, and suddenly there's a 1,000-year gap where every reference to an entire civilization is either expunged or relegated to myth. That's not coincidence. That's conspiracy. Before Tella could respond, the ship's AI chimed in, its melodic voice filling the chamber. "Professor Noros, we've detected an anomaly in Quadrant 7 of the excavation grid. The quantum resonance matches the parameters you specified." Varric's heart raced. "Show me." The view screen shifted, zooming into a seemingly empty patch of space. Numbers and calculations scrolled across the bottom as the ship's sensors worked to visualize the anomaly. "It's faint," Tella observed, professional curiosity overriding her skepticism. "Some kind of repeating pattern." "Not just any pattern," Varric whispered, excitement causing his voice to tremble. "It's a signal. Binary code, primitive by our standards, but undeniably artificial, and the decay rate suggests it's been broadcasting for approximately 50,000 years. But that would place it exactly during the Great Silence, the period when humans supposedly disappeared." Varric's voice rose with each word. "This is it, Tella. This is the proof I've been searching for." 3 days later, the Antiquity hovered near the source of the signal, a derelict satellite constructed from materials that predated modern galactic engineering. Its design was crude, its technology ancient, but its message was unmistakable once decrypted. Coordinates, and a single phrase repeated in mathematical sequence. "We endure." The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime buzzed with agitation. Representatives from 200 dominant species filled the circular hall, their varied anatomies creating a living mosaic of evolution's greatest achievements. At the center podium stood High Chancellor Drav Vorox, his translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that reflected his irritation. "Professor Noros, the Council has indulged your theories 3 times in the past decade. Each time you promised definitive proof of these humans. Each time you delivered conjecture and circumstantial evidence." Varric stood firm before the Council, the recovered satellite data projected behind him. "With respect, Chancellor, this is different. This signal contains technological signatures that match no known species in our records. It originates from precisely the region where ancient texts, before they were systematically altered, placed the human homeworld." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Chancellor Vorox's skin flashed crimson. "You accuse the Council of historical revisionism. This borders on sedition, Professor." From her seat among the scientific delegates, Dr. Kira Zenith, the renowned Arcturian physicist, leaned forward. Unlike most of her species, whose ethereal beauty was legendary, Kira's face bore the scars of a laboratory accident, a constant reminder of the price of seeking truth. "If I may, Chancellor," her voice, soft yet penetrating, silenced the chamber. "The mathematical principles encoded in this signal demonstrate knowledge of universal constants that would have been impossible for any civilization to fabricate. This is not conjecture. This is evidence." Chancellor Vorux's appendages twitched in annoyance. "And what would you have us do, Dr. Zenith? Divert resources from real concerns to chase ghosts?" "I would have us acknowledge that our history may be incomplete," Kira replied, rising from her seat. "The signal contains coordinates beyond the Veil Nebula, in the region we call the Dead Zone." "The Dead Zone is restricted for good reason," growled General Thax, the massive Kronan military leader whose exoskeleton clinked as he gestured emphatically. "Nothing survives there. The cosmic radiation alone would destroy any vessel." "Unless," Varric interjected, "someone wanted to ensure no one would follow. Unless the Dead Zone is a fabrication, a barrier created to hide something, or someone." The council exploded into chaotic debate. Chancellor Vorux slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor, the sound reverberating through the chamber like a thunderclap. "Enough, Professor Noros, your research grant is hereby suspended. Dr. Zenith, your endorsement of this fantasy will be noted in your file. This session is adjourned." As the council members dispersed, Kira approached Varric, her luminous eyes reflecting determination. "They're frightened," she whispered, "which means you're onto something significant." "They should be frightened," Varric replied grimly. "Because if humans were real and if they were somehow erased from history, the question isn't where they went, it's whether they're coming back." On the outer rim of the Concordia galaxy, far from the political machinations of the council, Jax Meridian guided his trading vessel through an asteroid field with practiced ease. Half Ridian, half something his mother never discussed, Jax had the unique advantage of looking unremarkable to most species, a trait that served a smuggler well. "Cutting it close there, Captain," his navigator, Zed, remarked as they narrowly avoided a collision. "Close is where the profit margins live," Jax replied with a grin, his silver eyes scanning the sensor readouts. "Besides, Coalition patrols never venture this far out. Too many pirates. Like us. We're entrepreneurs facing import restrictions, Zed. Totally different." Their banter was interrupted by an alert from the ship's AI. "Unidentified energy signature detected. Configuration unknown. Mass readings inconsistent with asteroid composition." Jax frowned, adjusting their course. "Show me." The view screen displayed what appeared to be an ordinary asteroid, except for the faint energy pulse emanating from within it. "Some kind of beacon," Zed suggested. "Or a trap," Jax muttered. His instincts, which had kept him alive through a decade of illegal trade runs, were screaming warnings. "We should." The asteroid suddenly split apart, revealing a metallic structure roughly the size of a scout ship. Before either of them could react, the structure emitted a pulse that washed over their vessel, temporarily disabling their systems. "What the hell was that?" Zed gasped as the lights flickered back on. Jax's hands flew over the controls, assessing the damage. "Some kind of EMP, but selective. Navigation and weapons are down, but life support and communications are intact." "They want us alive and talking. That's rarely good news." The comm system crackled to life, and a voice, speaking in a language neither of them recognized, filled the bridge. After a moment, it shifted, as if recalibrating. "Vessel identified. Non-hostile classification. Stand by for transmission." The view screen changed, revealing a face that made both men freeze. It looked almost Ridian, but wrong somehow. The proportions unusual, the features alien yet eerily familiar. "I am Captain Ileana Reed of the Earth Reconnaissance Division. Your vessel has entered a monitored sector." The figure paused, studying them with unnerving intensity. "State your origin and purpose." Jax found his voice first. I'm Captain Jack's Meridian of the trading vessel Horizon. We're on a standard shipping route. We didn't realize this sector was claimed. The figure, Captain Reed, tilted her head slightly. Interesting. Your linguistic patterns match our historical records. How many cycles since the purge? The what? Reed's expression hardened. The purge, the systematic elimination of human presence from galactic records. How long? Zed whispered, humans. She's claiming to be human. Jax felt a chill run down his spine. If you're human, you're supposed to be extinct or mythical, depending on who you ask. Reed's laughter held no humor. Mythical? Is that what they've reduced us to? She leaned closer to the screen. Captain Meridian, in approximately 72 hours, the myth is going to become very, very real. I suggest you spread the word. The transmission cut off abruptly. Their navigation systems came back online, along with a data packet containing a single image. A massive fleet of ships, thousands strong, positioned just beyond the dead zone. Oh, stars, Zed breathed. We need to get back to civilized space, now. Jack stared at the image, a strange mix of dread and excitement churning in his gut. They were real. All this time they were real. And very much not extinct, Zed added grimly. As they plotted a course back to Nexus Prime, neither man noticed the small tracking beacon attached to their hull, or the encrypted message it was broadcasting to every corner of the galaxy. The Forgotten Return, prepare. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos incarnate. Representatives shouted over one another, military advisors presented conflicting strategies, and Chancellor Vorux struggled to maintain order. The reports cannot be verified, he insisted, though his skin had paled to a sickly white. One trader's encounter with an unknown species does not constitute proof of. It's not just one trader, General Thax interrupted, projecting a galactic map onto the central display. Red dots appeared across multiple sectors. We have 47 confirmed sightings of unidentified vessels matching no known configuration in our database, all reported within the last 26 hours. Kira Zenith stepped forward, her expression grave. And all bearing technology far beyond our current capabilities. My team has analyzed the energy signatures. These ships are manipulating spacetime in ways we've only theorized. Chancellor Vorux sank into his seat. How many? Current estimates place their fleet at approximately 20,000 vessels, General Thax replied. And they're moving in formation toward Nexus Prime. The chamber fell silent. If they're hostile, someone finally whispered, we're defenseless. Varric Noros, who had been silently observing from the gallery, stood up. They're not hostile yet. They've made no aggressive moves, fired no weapons. They're sending a message. And what message is that? Chancellor Vorux demanded. That the greatest lie in galactic history is about to be exposed, Varric replied, and those responsible will be held accountable. As if summoned by his words, every screen in the council chamber suddenly activated, displaying the same image. A human woman in a military uniform, her eyes reflecting determination hardened by centuries of waiting. I am Admiral Eliza Frost of the Earth Reclamation Fleet, she began, her voice echoing through the silent chamber. For 50,000 years, we have watched from the shadows as you built your civilization on the foundation of our erasure. You rewrote history, turning us into monsters and myths. You declared us extinct when we were very much alive. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. That ends today. We do not come seeking vengeance, though it would be justified. We come seeking acknowledgement, truth, the recognition that we existed, that we survived, and that we have returned. The transmission ended, replaced by a countdown. 24:00:00. 24 hours, General Thax growled. Until what? In the stunned silence that followed, Varric Noros looked to the stars visible through the council chamber's transparent dome. Somewhere out there, a fleet of legend was approaching, the living proof of everything he had dedicated his life to discovering. Until history corrects itself, he whispered, and the forgotten become unforgettable. The reckoning. The countdown dominated every screen across the Concordia galaxy. 234716. For the first time in recorded history, the various species of the galaxy shared a single, unified emotion: fear. Not the abstract fear of economic collapse or territorial disputes, but the primal fear of the unknown, of the forgotten returned to life. On Nexus Prime, emergency evacuation protocols had already failed under the strain of mass panic. The orbital platforms were clogged with vessels attempting to flee, while the Galactic Defense Fleet formed a protective ring around the planet, their weapons primed for an enemy they knew nothing about. 24 hours to what? Chancellor Vorux demanded, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing erratically as he paced the war room. An ultimatum? An attack? Why announce your presence if your intention is conquest? General Thax studied the holographic display showing the human fleet's approach. They're maintaining formation but not accelerating. At current velocity, they'll reach Nexus Prime in approximately 17 hours. Which means they've given us 7 hours beyond their arrival, Dr. Kira Zenith observed, her scarred face illuminated by the blue glow of the tactical display. They want something from us before they act. Varric Naro stood silently by the window, watching the chaos unfold in the city below. Evacuation sirens wailed across the metropolis, their mournful tones a counterpoint to the frantic activity. Professor, Chancellor Vorux called, interrupting Varric's thoughts. You've dedicated your life to studying these humans. What do they want? Varric turned, his 4 eyes focusing on the assembled leaders. Recognition, truth, justice, in that order. Justice for what? General Thax scoffed. According to your own research, they disappeared 50,000 years ago. None of us were even born. But our institutions remain, Kira interjected. Our governments, our historical records, our foundational myths, all of which systematically erased human existence. Chancellor Vorux's skin flashed dark crimson. Even if what you say is true, even if some ancient iteration of the Council participated in this erasure, what could they possibly want us to do about it now? The answer came from an unexpected source. The main doors to the war room slid open, revealing Jack's Meridian, flanked by armed guards. They want you to admit what you did, Jax said, striding into the room despite the guards' protests. And they're coming to make sure you can't lie about it again. Chancellor Vorux bristled. How did this traitor get past security? Remove him immediately. I wouldn't do that, Jax warned, displaying a small device on his wrist. Captain Reed was very specific about keeping me alive to deliver her message. General Thax studied the device warily. What is that? Insurance, Jax replied with a tight smile. If my heart stops beating, if this device is removed, or if I don't return to my ship within 3 hours, the countdown accelerates. And trust me, you don't want that. Varric approached Jax slowly, curiosity overriding caution. You spoke with them, the humans. Not just spoke, Jax said. I was brought aboard their command ship. I've seen what they can do, what they've become. He turned to Chancellor Vorux. You should be very, very afraid, not because they want to destroy you, but because they don't need to. Explain, Kira demanded. Jax looked around the room, his silver eyes reflecting the emergency lights. They call it the divergence. 50,000 years ago, when the Galactic Purge began, a fraction of humanity escaped beyond the Veil Nebula. They found a region of space where the laws of physics bend, they evolved, adapted, and now they've returned with technology we can't comprehend. Impossible, General Thax growled. No species could advance that dramatically in 50,000 years. Time moves differently where they've been, Jax replied simply. For us, it's been 50,000 years. For them, it's been nearly 500,000. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They could have wiped us out already, Varric whispered. So why the countdown, why the warning? Jax's expression hardened. Because Admiral Frost wants you to understand exactly what you're being judged for. He activated a small projector, and a 3-dimensional image materialized in the center of the room, a massive crystalline structure floating in space. What is that? Chancellor Vorux asked. They call it the Archive, Jax explained. A perfect, immutable record of human history, everything your ancestors tried to erase. They're bringing it here to the heart of the galactic community. And then what? Kira asked softly. Then everyone learns the truth, Jax replied, whether you want them to or not. Aboard the human flagship Mnemosyne, Admiral Eliza Frost stood on the observation deck, watching as her fleet approached Nexus Prime. After centuries of waiting, of planning, of building in the strange pocket of distorted spacetime they discovered during their desperate flight from extinction, the moment of reckoning was finally at hand. Admiral, a voice called from behind her, the Galactic Council has requested direct communication. Frost turned to see Captain Reed standing at attention. Unlike most of the fleet's officers, Reed had volunteered for genetic reversion, a process that returned her appearance to that of humanity's original form. It made her an ideal first contact officer, but it also meant she would never experience the enhanced abilities that other humans had developed during their long exile. Predictable, Frost replied, her eyes pupil-less orbs of swirling silver energy focusing on Reed. They've realized their weapons will be useless. We've confirmed that the trader Meridian has made contact and delivered the archive preview, Reed reported. Sensor readings indicate widespread panic across all major worlds. The Council is attempting to portray our arrival as an invasion. Frost's expression remained impassive. Like most humans who had fully embraced the evolutionary advantages of the divergence, her face had become a canvas of subtle shifts in light and texture rather than traditional expressions. Establish the link, she ordered, moving toward the communications platform at the center of the deck. Let's hear what Excuse's 50,000 years has produced. The holographic interface shimmered to life, projecting the images of Chancellor Vorux, General Thax, and several other council members. Among them, Frost noticed with interest, were Professor Varric Noros and Dr. Kira Zenith, names she recognized from the surveillance data. Admiral Frost, Chancellor Vorux began, his voice remarkably steady despite the fear evident in his luminescent patterns. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend greetings and a request for peaceful dialogue. Peaceful dialogue? Frost repeated, the words carrying a weight of irony even without emotional inflection. An interesting choice of terms from the descendants of those who ordered our extermination. Admiral, Varric interjected, stepping forward. We understand your grievance, but the beings before you bear no direct responsibility for crimes committed 50 millennia ago. Frost regarded the archaeologist with interest. Professor Noros, your research into our existence has been noted. It's unfortunate that your society chose to dismiss your findings rather than confront their implications. What are your demands? General Thax asked bluntly. Today marks a new chapter in our shared history, Vorux declared, his skin once again vibrant with color, though noticeably different patterns than before, reflecting the profound change in his worldview. The Concordia galaxy welcomes humanity back to its rightful place among the stars, not as conquerors or as victims, but as equals. The agreement they had reached was unprecedented. Humanity would share their advanced technology gradually, preventing the kind of cultural shock that might destabilize existing civilizations. In return, the truth of history would be taught to every species, a permanent reminder of how close the galaxy had come to losing an essential thread in its tapestry. The archive remained in orbit around Nexus Prime, a monument and a promise. Never again would history be erased. Never again would truth be sacrificed for convenience or fear. In his research vessel, once again exploring the stars, Varric Noros recorded his observations of this new era. His lifelong quest had been vindicated in ways he could never have imagined. The return of humanity has forced us to confront not just our past, he dictated into his journal, but our potential. They evolved in isolation, becoming something both more and less than human. We evolved in community, becoming something both more and less than just. The question before us now is whether we can evolve together, whether the legend and the reality can coexist. Aboard his trading vessel, now officially licensed as a diplomatic courier between human and council space, Jack's meridian plotted a course to the edges of the known galaxy. Captain Reed had offered him a chance few would ever receive, to see the realm beyond the Veil Nebula, where humanity had rebuilt themselves into something new. "Ready for the jump?" Zed asked, his fingers hovering over the navigation controls. Jax glanced at the small archive crystal Admiral Frost had given him, a token of trust and a key to knowledge long hidden. "Ready," he confirmed. "Let's see what legends are really made of." As his ship accelerated into the unknown, the stars seemed to bend around him, welcoming him into a future where myths breathed, legends walked, and history, true history, shaped the path forward for all species. The forgotten had returned, and the galaxy would never forget again.